Thank you for being here. I present around the region, but this is a salutation I can only use in India. How's the Josh? How's the Josh? There you go, sir. It's interesting times in India, really. We're doing so much, and the world is recognizing India every year progressively. It's a force to reckon with. India is budgeted separately by most multinationals in the world. They got separate innovation centers for India. In fact, a lot of innovation has started to get born in India, so it's becoming more and more important, and some feel it's the next China. And I agree with that. We spend a lot of time now talking about, and I cover the Asia-Pacific region, we talk about China, we talk about India, and then we talk about the rest of the region. That's how people want to know what's really going on. So I'll walk you through some of the things that we are observing. And in the interest of time, I'll focus on two things. One is data. What customers are doing, how are they working towards data monetization, what are some of the strategies we've started to see. And linked to that is business innovation. It's a theme that's becoming more and more pertinent across the world. This is where businesses are trying to use technology to create businesses. It's not just about efficiency, it's just not about productivity. They're not just trying to use IT to be more smarter, efficient. They're actually trying to see if they can create new businesses. If they can actually go out there and engage with their customers or re-engage with them with a new dialogue. I took this actually from my teenager son's project, really. He was doing something. Maybe he was trying to impress the girls in the class, I don't know. It's a huge amount of quotes that he was trying to use, and I was reading them and I was thinking, if they still stand the test of time. We're in a different era. This was eons ago. Some of these were written in the middle of last century, and some, of course, are more in the last few decades. But if you look around you, you'll constantly see examples that have stared us in the face on businesses which just happened because it was so simple to create that business opportunity. A lot of these shared services that you start to see where customers are actually having very little assets, and they're really deploying or leveraging the assets which are sitting out there, like transportation with Uber and housing with Airbnb. It's not really something that was that out of the blue. It was just sitting out there for someone to take it up and start offering that service. Of course, the whole business is pretty innovative. Airbnb today contributes to about 8% of the room availability in the US, which is one of the biggest markets. And that's saying something for something which just came up in the last 5 or 6 years. We talk about failure, and there are people out there, thought leaders, who would tell you that that's the only way to innovate. If you're thinking there's a best idea, there's this one perfect idea that you can actually launch, and that's what you should wait for, you're kidding yourself. Netflix started in 1997, right? And they had a business of sending DVDs on mail order with 700 titles in that DVD. And you had to return that DVD in a day or two. From there to actually producing content today and offering TV series, offering content over that platform, they've come a huge, long way. And if you talk to the CIO, if you talk to the CEO, he said my journey is fraught with failures. Many times we were chased out of rooms, many times we were laughed upon at what is it that you're doing, including Blockbuster, of course, at the time. Telstra, as we all know, in the first few years, people thought he was crazy. Who's going to buy a car with batteries? And he struggled with that. He continued to persevere. And we see now Telstra going through the roof in terms of their sales. A very successful business. So he believes what he's saying. And you can see there are a number of businesses around you who actually will breathe this as a philosophy. Most of the new age companies, whether it's Google, whether it's Microsoft, would actually have this as an insignia saying, fail, it's all right. But keep thinking, come up with new ideas. And then there are game shifters. There are companies, and these are just examples, right? But there are many other companies that are actually creating markets that never existed. Things which have started to give new jobs to people. Things that have put new products in front of us. things that we never thought would actually exist as products, and they're staring at us. And now our life is changing with some of these things. The autonomous revolution or the appification of our world is actually contributed to some of these companies that started on that road. And then this last one, that we cannot solve problems with the same thinking we used to when we created them. I was thinking about vendors, and one vendor comes to my mind. I've been in this industry 20 years. I observed many vendors. Now, this vendor was fighting legacy for a number of years. They kept trying to see how they can save the situation with the problem they created to start with. It was not a problem when they created it, it was the need of the market. And they struggled with that idea for so long, and everybody else left them far behind, and you started seeing Microsoft as a legacy company. And then they started to think differently, and they said, you know what, we got to do things differently. We have a rich install base. That install base wants to interact with technology in a different way. And we started to see mobility and cloud as their two pillars. And now it's among the top 5 companies when we talk about market capitalization. Microsoft, Alphabet, Amazon, they're all up there as the top 5 companies globally for that. So they've reinvented themselves. They've changed themselves. And the one common theme here is innovate. We talk about innovation, and that's the era that we are currently in. It's a chapter in the third platform journey we call multiplied innovation. In the first chapter, what really happened was that a lot of companies, vendors, they came up with solutions which were specific to their assets and their world. So you started seeing vendor A offer a cloud, vendor B offer a big data solution, vendor C come up with a mobility solution, and a lot of that was driven by what they were doing with their customers at the time. In the second phase, which we are living through now, what is happening is that you're seeing a lot of collaboration to innovate. Companies are looking at options, looking at solutions which are sitting out there and saying that I should imbibe this into my solution to make a better solution for my end customers. They're more and more open to acquire companies. So if you look at automobiles, for instance, most of the top 4 or 6 companies now have a capital put away to acquire software companies. BMW has some of the richest portfolio there, and they've already acquired 12 to 15 software companies. And their intent is to improve the experience of the car owner. There are things that you'll demand in the future that they are trying to look for. Can we help you find parking spaces? Can help park the car? Can we give you more experience around the ecosystem that's going to be evolving around you if you want to find certain things? To geolocation-based services. So they're always trying to see how they can think ahead and give you that. And for that, they will always be partnering with multiple different software vendors or acquiring them. Multiplied innovation is going to accompany till at least 2022, we think, before autonomy kicks in, which is also a process that's going all around us. And that is when you'll start to seeing a lot more machine-to-machine than what you're seeing today. We do a survey every year. It's a global survey. We break it by regions, of course, and we try and talk about, ask the respondents what are their goals, business goals that are driving tech investments. And this survey includes non-CIOs too. There's an LOB element in this survey, which makes it a bit more interesting. And we give them a number of choices, and for the last year and this year, we're seeing that innovation is the prime theme. We want to make sure that we use technology to innovate new products and services. Amit was talking about digital transformation. That's linked to this. A lot of them are figuring out how do we create digital twins? How do we create products and services that are faster to market? How do we create something which has more appeal than what we've been doing in the past? Any company, and every company today, is trying to appify, is trying to reach out to new customers in new ways and trying to see if they can learn more, if they can include them in new ideas and new discussions, and co-innovate with them. See if we can take what they have and create products that are hitting it on the head when it comes to customer expectations. In AP, when I saw this data, the other thing that came up was delivering digital products, trying to create increasingly digital twins, and trying to see if we can offer the same services in the digital world. We're going to try and do this again with a larger sample for AP, but I'm not surprised with this. We have a much younger population in many countries, and we continue to see that social platforms are very exciting for engaging customers in the region. So I'm not surprised that customers are thinking more and more about reaching out to customers digitally. Now, we talk about innovation, and we talk about using technology to innovate. But a lot of examples that I've seen are more about what you can do internally to help your business get more intelligence through data or insights, or provide your customers with that. But how about a company which starts to say that my job is to open bank accounts? And there are customers out there who want to use digital services but can't afford those digital services. How about I partner with a technology company and offer an integrated service to these customers where we'll run their payroll. We'll do some of these inventory management activities for them if they open accounts with us. UOB in Singapore ran a survey with SMEs. And in each of these questions that you see there, they started putting together a solution with not just SAP, but also SAP. And they said that, why don't you buy a BizSmart Cloud from us? This is a business service, technology-enabled, but it's not coming from SAP or IBM or HP or Telstra. It's coming from UOB. They can open huge amount of retail accounts with these customers by offering this service. And they're not just sitting on that. They're continuing to innovate by adding more and more names. If you see the right corner over there, the companies in brackets are some of the ISPs that they've started to partner with to offer these solutions to their customers. It's amazing. Many of the technology vendors today don't see them as competition. But guess what? This is around the corner. We talk about business innovation. This is what's coming. A lot of you would start to look at the IP that you've already created, the market acceptance that is already there for you in that space. And then if you start to offer a service in that space, they start saying, well, trust is already there. I'm not saying trust is not there with the vendors. It's easily established is what I'm saying. Another example is Paytm. Everyone knows Paytm. They've become a huge revolution in India. We knew that they could protect and work with their customer databases because they have so much information lying with them. And they turned around and said, we offer a cloud. And this happened last year for developers, for enterprises, and especially for AI-based solutions. They're partnering with Alibaba. And again, here's a situation where a customer, or at least somebody that the tech vendors thought was a customer, has come into foray and said that, I want to offer this as a service. I want to make this a business. My core business is different, but I have learned so much, and I have such credibility that I should turn around and start offering these services to customers at large. Well, like I said, that trust and credibility is already there. Now it's the next step of thinking, why not? We will get value-added services is what we'll get when we deal with these people. There's a whole black box that these guys have actually created using their AI algorithms that they've actually been using for some of the core stuff that we've been enjoying. We've been having a good time. So why not try to leverage that and use it for our businesses when we work with them? It's happening. It's out there. And you'll see more and more such cases as we go forward. So this is innovation using technology. We also went and asked them, what are some of the new business models, and this is Asia Pacific, by the way, that you would like to spend more time and money on in the times to come? And I did this for India too. And the results were same as Asia Pacific. You'll have these slides. You can read the text. You can see what we are asking, so don't worry about it. Data monetization came out as the biggest theme. Customers would like to spend more time, more energy, and would definitely try and find ways where they can monetize data within the organization. And when I say data monetization, it doesn't mean go and sell data. It also means how you can use data to create better products, to be able to actually reduce the cost of existing products. as well as, of course, try and see if you can monetize it by selling it or partnering with third parties to sell it, make it more valuable. And we'll come to that in a second. This, I think, is one of the fundamental things which will drive a lot of examples similar to what I'm showing you here. Caterpillar is a heavy equipment company. And last year, or a year before that, they said that everything that comes out of our company would have sensors in it, would be connected. And we'll give information back to the users on how to efficiently use that product when they're out there in the field based on the amount of data we are gathering, insights we are gathering, to safely and securely use those products more efficiently. And they started to see customer experience start to climb up, start to get much better because they started having lesser faults, lesser breakdowns, and they were able to do things much smarter with this information. Now, that's done. Now they're saying, that's what the CEO is saying, I want to put it all on one dashboard. I want all the data to be cross-shared, to be available to everyone, and insights going left and right, east and west, not just within those portfolios. So I want to create an integrated data platform. With that information, they'll probably look at connected insights. They'll try and see if now they can start getting third parties, players that are upstream or downstream, to start also looking at this data and say that, can I buy this from you? This is very useful for me. I'm in that line of business. I'm the next in chain, or I'm two down, and if you have this data and information, I can actually really use it for my business purposes. Or they could offer a service too. It's pretty similar to what GE did with Predix and say that, look, let us analyze your data. We have the insights, we have the engine to be able to process those insights. Something like this could happen with Indian Railways. In the last year or two, they've started to invest also in a lot of these data monetization efforts. So if you heard the good minister, he was talking about how with ticketing, they've already created a big revolution with in-memory databases, and they're able to now cater to 10 times more customers daily than they used to IRTC. In fact, I think it's got more traffic than Flipkart, maybe. They also have services now where they're looking at getting smarter in their catering services to procure food cheaper as they travel through different cities from one destination to the other, to improve the quality of the food through embedded IP cams, and which are giving them a lot of information from kitchen to the cart, and they're analyzing food quality as well as able to deliver much more efficiently. As well as, of course, they're seeing if they can connect with third parties now, services where people can actually supply food and also be able to use these services to use transportation more effectively if the cost is more visible to them. They're thinking about that. It's probably going to be a journey which is not as quick as some of the private entities, but IITC is saying that we're sitting on a huge amount of data. We got the volume, we're interacting with those customers, why not monetize it? If you haven't thought about it, there are these layers which you'll have to build when you think about how do I monetize, or who do I interact with? We call this unbundling, and this is an example from the FSI world. So traditionally, banks at the bottom, they have all this information sitting within their core banking, deposits, cards and payments, back assurance, et cetera. And they give a lot of advisory to their customers, as you know there. And they've started to see now that there are some intersection points with the fintech companies which are already out there and offering some of the services that you see higher on the stack. And it's up to us to open up our banking and allow them to actually work with us to offer payment services to end customers with our bank's support and bank's gateways too. Do credibility checks on customers if you're offering them loans, and we'll open up our databases to make sure that they can do the validation for them. Offer, of course, all kinds of ticketing and other experiences that are built online, but where what was missing is the customer credence. And the banks are saying that, let's get involved in this discussion. The more we are involved, the more per transaction we are able to gain, and the more we are relevant to our end customers too. So if some of your banks have started to do this, and you're finding it easier to buy services, on a daily basis or pay your peers, you start to see that your bank's changing, that your bank is transforming, that your bank is actually thinking ahead. Otherwise, you have to use third party, and you're always thinking, well, how dicey is this? And should I really connect my bank account to this? You know, one doesn't know what really is going on. So you'll see this by industry being built, and if you are in a different industry than financial, you should start thinking about that too and see how you can connect with the wider audience by intersecting with ISVs or with solution providers that are sitting at the edge of some of these services that you offer to create more value. I'll leave this with you later. I'm not going to read this out, but based on what I just said, there are already a plethora of services that banks are offering around the region. They're trying to do, like I said, cross-border money transfer in Thailand. There's something with Western Union in Malaysia, where the Maybank is doing. You can see South Korea. There's different banks. I just want to make sure that it's not just words. There are actually a lot of action that's happening in this. And in India, too, we see Yes Bank doing a lot more now with data analytics and trying to see if they can go out there and learn more about their customers. So they're talking a lot about analytics and AI as we speak, as I was reading about that. So there would be examples in India as well. These are some of the pertinent ones we've started to see in the region. Let's talk about the next thing then. When we talk about data monetization today, a lot of that discussion is around the core, the data centers, very close to those data centers, and you have all your data there. It's sitting on-premise or it's sitting probably in the cloud, but that's where a large amount of your data is. As we start going away from this, and as you start thinking about customers that are out there at the edge who are interacting with you today, but perhaps just pinging you for a service and going back, but tomorrow, they could actually be leaving a huge amount of data footprint that you can use to re-engage them on new things. The investment will be to actually start tracking it, storing it, analyzing it, and acting on that. And no one's thinking about that because that's going to be a huge tsunami of data which you'll have to deal with. Everyone knows Under Armour. They've invested about $800 million on a platform where they have 180 million users, people like you and me, who are using their products and sharing information back with them. They obviously give you a lot of value addition. You're able to benchmark yourself in your same age group and your demography with others, and you're able to see how much others are running in your city in that same age bracket, or what's their diet routines, or what are they doing in terms of their fitness, etc. So there's a bargain. They're giving you rich data, rich information, you're sharing information with them. But they're also found out that every 400 miles, the shoe needs to be changed. And this is a near-perfect science that they've reached in some countries. So they're able to go back to the customer and offer them appropriate incentives to start thinking about changing the shoe before the customer knows that he has to change the shoe, simply because the data is empowering them with some of these insights. You've heard of this before, I'm sure. There was another case, I think, with Walmart or P&G, where they started to predict when the customer would need what they'll need. This is similar to that, but this is data-based. It's insight-based. They'll keep learning, and they'll keep doing very targeted marketing to some of these customers, and the customers would be very happy. I'd be very happy. My shoe is worn out. I'm getting 30% discount on the next Under Armour. I'd be like, yes, why not? Let's do it. Let's buy it. So this is, again, something which you'll start to see happen more and more when we think about the edge, when we think about customers who are wearing stuff, who've got applications in their mobile phones that are interacting with you, especially if you're in the consumer retail industry, and who will be constantly looking at bargains. We call this bargain. It's not going to be very easy for you to get the customer to share information. Increasingly, many of them saying, I don't want to share my information. My health information is very private. Why should I share with everyone unless I get something back? We call that the data bargain, and as this evolves, you'll see more and more customers get smarter about exactly when they'll switch on and start sharing that data. Let's talk about the data. We measure this. Can you believe that? We measure every instance of data creation, the picture that you guys took just now, the picture you'll delete after a few minutes, Anything which is created and stored is estimated here, and we think that this market from 11.5 zettabytes is going to go to 102.6 zettabytes. How much is that? That's 300 million times Netflix's entire directory. That's one way of looking at it. It's an unthinkable number, and I think no one's prepared to store that one. How it gets exciting is when I start looking at data stored versus data created. So these are all the sensors. This is all the machines embedded with stuff. These are all the watches. These are all the devices, right? And 67% would be stored, and 68% created. What would be interesting between now and, in 2023 is that the burden on the enterprises to store and analyze data is going to change phenomenally from today to then. With the edge coming up and becoming real for most enterprise, you'll see that their storage needs are going to grow from 33 to almost 68% in that time frame. Not everything will be catered to by the cloud. You've started to hear a number of companies talk to you about get ready for the edge. We also think our latest predictions from data centers that there would be data center bunkers, storage bunkers that will be created on the edge, which are much nearer to the action, and where customers would take space and be storing data temporarily before they're able to push it back to the cloud. There's also, of course, a lot of real-time analysis that will happen on the edge, because of which vendors are urging you to think about putting more computing at the edge, micro data centers, new form factors, to see if you can analyze and milk the data and create insights right at the edge at that time, which can actually save lives, which can really give you more money if you're smart and you're in the retail sector. So there's huge amount of opportunities for customers to do that. Making sense so far? Good. So to summarize, we think all of you should start looking at business innovation, and I think you are already, but a number of you also think about how technology can make things much smarter. We talk about hybrid cloud because we're thinking about how we can build more agility, how the line of business has been saying that we are very slow to respond to the needs of the business, and so we should have new forms and new architectures. There's nothing wrong in that. A lot of customers are saying that we should change the way we've been building our IT, and we should have more cloud-like environments. But how about also thinking about a new business opportunity that the business can actually avail if you start making some investments in some of these areas? How about that? How about saying that every year I'll come up with 3 things for the business where we can actually start using technology to create new business opportunities? No one except the CIOs can come up with this. Yes, the line of business can too, but they don't know the technical difficulties and complexities, and that's a big snag for them. So to come together with your chief digital officers, or become chief digital officers, or become such that you have regular interaction with the line of business, and to be able to glean out what those business gaps are and see if you can actually start looking at technology to fill those gaps would be a key thing for you going forward. Customers are tuned to that. Data monetization is critical, and we think almost everyone would be forced to think about data monetization in a year's time. How and why do we do it? The option wouldn't be there that let's not do it. It's more about how and why. Everybody is doing it. Everybody is creating new value. Why are we not doing that? So make sure you start looking about it around you and be more aware of this. We think edge will raise new discussions. We think if you're ignoring it, stop ignoring it and start finding out for your industry what are the best reference cases. Force your tech suppliers and vendors to come up with reference cases specific to your industry and say that, I want to see some of the case studies successfully done. And I want to build a 4-year, 5-year roadmap on how we get more edge enabled. That's something that you can wait for, or you can start acting on slowly to get ready for that 68% going up from 33% that you'll see in time. I'll be around here for the rest of the day. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. I don't know if there's any burning question right now. Am I allowed to take questions? Nobody seems to care. All right, thank you so much.